Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Death.
And guess you didn't think much.
August, you might want us to continue our theme of covering new releases into August.
Continues
That's
with
a mouthful.
I tried. I literally immediately panicked trying to say the name of our theme and gave up. So I'll just cue you. I'll do like a finger gun.
It's not necessarily like one consistent name every time. It's kind of just like the gist of it.
I only
included
could
more
remember
information
like
that time, so they knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, no, you did add on an extra August on there. I noticed that. But it's okay.
Clarify what was happening. I did the same for Julying.
I like that it is like it ebbs and flows. It moves with the feelings that we're feeling. It's like
Rhythm.
we're so in touch and in tune for that. But anyway, that's the long name of our theme month. Which, if you didn't understand what it meant, it's a play on words with the word August. And then we're also continuing to do new releases. New releases having a broader definition for us. It is not just shit from 2025. It's been a great year, but hey, there were some sleeper cell, like little bit less, more under the radar films that came out in 2024. And we might even dabble in 2023, but we don't know yet. It's early in the month. Everyone relax. But we're starting off strong with, okay, this is also up for debate, 2023 or 2024. It came out in the film festival circuit in 2023, but it came out actually in August 2024 in theaters. And that is Strange Darling. And I'm just going to read the IMDb logline right now to get it out of the way. It says, nothing is what it seems when a twisted one-night stand spirals into a serial killer's vicious murder spree. Oh, I actually like that. I actually like that a lot. And I actually love this movie a lot. So, cool. Makes sense.
I really like this movie.
Yes! Oh, yay!
Yes!
We didn't know. We just didn't know.
I wasn't sure, but I had a feeling that you would like it because it has all the things that you like. Blood, hot girl,
choking,
hot guy, sexy, choky,
Kyle Gallner.
Things. Yeah. Ed Begley Jr. I know you love him.
So much cocaine. Ketamine.
So much cocaine. Yep. I know you also love Barbara Hershey, who's is a queen. Oh my God. My hip just popped. That's how excited I am that my joints are popping out of their sockets. Oh my God, is that your ketamine bag?
Shout out her ketamine bag just for the occasion. Beautiful. That's her cosplay today.
So beautiful.
That's, you know how in the movie she has a little baggie
so angry,
ketamine. Sydney has actually a really big baggie of ketamine. So
huge. Literally huge.
I was a horse girl growing up, so once a horse girl,
it just feels right.
Girl.
Wait, so Sydney, did you know like anything at all before you went into this movie?
The only thing that I've ever seen of it, because we did like a teaser trailer review, didn't we?
Did we?
I don't think so.
I don't think
I remember watching a teaser trailer, but I don't think I ever saw like a full trailer.
Yeah, that is exactly what my experience was going into this last year. And I just actually watched the trailer today. I was trying to find that teaser that I had originally seen, which I saw in theaters. I think I was with Chelsea seeing some other movie and that teaser came on. And it literally gives you nothing. The teaser gave you nothing. And I'm glad that they were running with that in theaters for at least a while. Because it's just like, I think you see that opening sequence part of it of her like running or some sort of like woman in distress doing something.
She's bleeding and she's running through the woods and she's being pursued.
Yeah, and then it just says like you need to go into this blind, quote Mike Flanagan or something like that. And it gives you like literally nothing except for emphasizing that you should not try to find out what's going to happen before you watch this movie.
It,
And so that is why I love it.
it took me so much restraint as a plot
As a
Google
spoiler girly.
girl,
I know.
not Google the entire plot, but I didn't. I wanted like a fresh
To
thing.
let it
proud of you.
unfold.
And
so
I
proud
made
of you.
Taylor watch it with me, and he'd never even heard of the movie. And so he had never seen anything, never heard of it. And even he was like, that was a good movie.
Yeah, Taylor
I
stamp of
think
approval. Rare.
I think it's just a super interestingly constructed. I mean, it's not the only movie of its time ever to do the chapters out of order kind of thing, because Life of Chuck also did that earlier this year, if you haven't seen that. And there's some Sandra Bullock movie that I watched that one of our patrons hated, but I kind of enjoyed.
Is
That is
it
not a horror
Premonition?
movie. Maybe where it's like
I
out of
fucking loved that
chronological
movie.
order. Yeah, and it's super interesting. So like I think that that is always a fun format, and you're trying to like put the pieces together as you're watching. I will say perhaps I'm simply too genre savvy. But the way that the marketing was like, you have to go in blind, I immediately was like, okay, so it's the opposite of what the teaser is telling me it is.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. But if you watch the other trailer, like the actual trailer that people saw, it's like really hitting home what you would imagine, which is that the man is the murderer. You know, it's really going for that. So I think it worked for other people, but yeah, it's hard to know the things that we know at this
Yeah.
time. But something I thought was really interesting is that I wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure. You know, I'm not in the director's mind. The director, it's the same writer and the director, JT Mollner. Um, and Chelsea and I were lucky enough to see a live stream of a Q&A with him after we saw this movie the first time. Also included Giovanni Ribisi, and was it Willa who was in it? Who was
Yes,
also
and
there?
it was moderated by what's her face?
Oh, who was it? It
From
was someone so
Haunting of Hill House.
cool.
Her name is in my notes. Carla Gugino.
Oh, I love
Oh
her.
yeah. Oh my God, that was so cool. So that was really awesome. But I didn't remember everything from that Q&A, but
Don't
during
worry, I memorized it, and I definitely didn't record it. And I definitely didn't review the tapes. I just reviewed my memory. So
that's amazing. You're a
That
steel
tracks
trap.
for Chelsea.
I
But
was
Chelsea,
like, and I,
perfect.
if we ever want to do this, I am gonna need to memorize every moment of this. Is what I did for
wow,
sure.
thank God. Thank God you did that. But well, all I was gonna say, I was just wondering, like watching it, I was like, the story of this story, if it was played out in chronological order, though it does flip the script on what you usually see in a movie of this kind. It's not a story that you've never seen before. Like there are okay, we're going to talk about it. We're spoiling it now. There spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, do not listen to this podcast if you have not watched the movie. You just heard the part where we talked about how important it is to go in blind. Respect Sydney. She went in
Yeah.
blind. Would you please respect Sydney? My God.
Show some
Anyway,
respect.
throw some respect on Sydney's name. Um, so the woman is the killer here. And like there have been women killers before. Like it's always like, oh my God, it's a woman. Whoa, women can kill just as good, if not better, than men. Excuse me. But anyway, like this movie wouldn't be like that interesting necessarily. It would still be cool. It wouldn't be not cool. But like I think the way that it is chopped up and turned around, you know, and seeing things out of order make it more special. It like throws you off in a different way. So I was curious if that was like always the intention or if it was something that they added in later on or how that worked. But in reading about it, JT Mulder was saying that that was like always how it was going to be. Like that was how it was written from the get-go. Yes, Chelsea.
Oh, I don't know if you were gonna say it or if that was the end of your. Were you done?
I, what? I don't
I
know.
don't want to. I don't want to take the thing that you were gonna say if you were like setting up for your point. But if you were
That
done, then
was
I
my
have
point.
something.
Was that not
Okay,
a good
great.
enough point?
Well, it was a great point. What I was going to say is that the studio tried to make him release it as a chronological film and
Oh,
be
I
like, we're
didn't
not
know
doing
that.
it. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if you can understand now why I was like, she's getting to the good part.
Yeah, but you're like, so yeah, are you gonna ever make a point?
Are you
I
ever
thought
going to
that
get
was
to
an
something
interesting
interesting?
fact.
No, it is a super interesting fact, and I love his vision. The studio didn't see his vision at first, and they
Classic
tried to,
studio.
yeah, they like exerted their authority at first to be like, no, we're not doing it your way, we're doing it our way. And he like literally had to go into the details and the clauses of his legal contract with them to be like,
No.
I can't make you not do that, but I can mandate that you have a screening of the director's cut before you release the other cut. And they did a screening of the director's cut the way that we see the movie, and people in the middle of the movie were like, "This bitch crazy," and the audience like went wild. And then they were like,
No way.
"Okay, all
Oh
right, you're getting good
wow.
reactions. We can try it your way." But
Oh
like the
my
studio was
god.
really not on board at first.
Fuck that. That's so stupid. Okay, that's so interesting. You didn't bring that up in any of the articles that I wrote because maybe you didn't want to like he wanted to make it more about his like vision
Haterism.
as a director and
I
make it
think I
less
saw it
about
on
that.
IMDb trivia.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Miramax. Miramax, I've got
Fucking
my eye on
Miramax.
you.
That's so ridiculous. Yeah, because it's a really interesting way to do things, and I don't know. I was on the edge of my seat. I also was also like, thought the title cards were a little bit funny because it's like
Yeah.
the little like chapter 5, and then it's like here, kitty, kitty, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, it's a little. And then the other one was like, who is Guy? Whatever.
Who's
And
Gary Gilmore?
Gary Gilmore.
Can you
Yeah.
help me, please?
Mr.
So
Snuffle's
funny.
a good one as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, do you like to party for chapter 2?
Do you
But you're
like
kind of, by the time you get to chapter 2, you've seen 1, 2, 3, 4 other chapters already. So you're like kind of into the vibe of whatever they're doing with the title cards. But when Here Kitty Kitty pops up for the second one, you're like, whoa.
What? Also, this movie would make an incredible book. Like,
Ooh,
Would
yeah.
you like to read it out of order still?
yes.
Would you like it to be in someone's perspective, or would you like it to be like omniscient narrate? Well, what would give me your pitch?
I would love maybe like a dual POV to make it more
Ooh.
like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. So that you can kind of show and not show and kind of walk around parts of it.
I like that idea. I like that idea a lot.
Like, you can be in his head and her head at like, I think it would be really good.
Damn.
I'm interested.
I'm
Yeah,
interested
it
in
would
that
just, like,
too.
When I took a movie watching Supplement, and while I was watching it, I was just like, man, this would make like such a good book. I was like, it would hit kind of like the Gone Girl twist.
Yeah.
We're like halfway through. It's like, okay, let me tell you what's going on.
Yeah, like it would be, you know what I mean? Like,
that would be really cool.
It would fuck.
Also,
well,
oh no, it's not important. I realize my mustache is like totally off center and I can't stop thinking about it now. It's like a whole inch this way more than it is the other way. I just have that realization. Really horrifying. Continue, Chelsea.
If it makes you feel better, I don't think I can tell. I mean, it does kind of look like you're like quirking one corner of your mouth a little bit more, but maybe you're just being so silly mischievous.
I'm being so mischievous.
Yeah,
anyway,
you just have, like,
I'm just the
a little
demon being a
secret.
little. I'm a demon with a secret.
Yeah.
The secret is that I'm a cock.
Yeah, well,
Anyway.
It would be an interesting book because like it's so interesting and fun sometimes in a book when a character has his secret and the way that the author has to construct them like thinking around something without it being like on the page necessarily.
Right, but like
Um,
the way that when they're like, because we open with like the chase scene, right? And so
mhm.
uh you're gonna have to have the dialogue of the book where it's still making like you think that he's the killer, and like, so what is he gonna say? Know what I mean? Like all this kind of stuff, and her in like a prey mindset a little bit.
Which she definitely has in chapter 3, which is the first chapter that we
Oh
see.
yeah.
And it's interesting because I mean I didn't check, I didn't go back and check, but I'm pretty sure chapter 3 is called Can You Help Me Please? And I think that is the only line of dialogue. And chapter 4,
Oh
chapter
yeah.
5, sorry, chapter 5 is the second one, Here Kitty Kitty. And Here Kitty Kitty over and over, I think is pretty much the only dialogue in that chapter as well. And it's not until chapter 1, Mr. Snuffle, that we really start to get more setup for what's going on.
That's so true. You're like totally lost. Just action, action,
Yeah.
action.
Mm-hmm.
They completely
Just
throw you into the
emotion
deep
and
end
action.
because
Mhm.
all they give you before chapter 3, which is again the first chapter shown, is she's running through well, they give you the black and white of him in the car, and then they give you him black and white throttling, and then her injured running through the grass, and then it goes, she's the lady, by the way, and he's the demon. So draw
Yeah,
from
it's
that
like
what you will.
really, really painting a fucking picture. I think that part's super interesting. What do you think about how hard they try to mislead you in this movie? Like some of it I can parse out how it makes sense, but like other parts I'm just like, oh, they're just calling him the demon because oh, well actually I know why they call him the demon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
Yeah,
explains it at the end.
it explains
yeah,
it at the end.
and why she's
Okay,
the
I just haven't
lady.
thought
I
about
will
that.
say the Electric Lady is such
Oh,
a good
It is a good name.
oh my God. I
name.
was
It's a great
thinking the
name.
whole time, I was like, Sydney's gonna go crazy for that
Oh my
name.
god. If
Oh
I
my
ever become a
God.
serial killer, I'm
That's what you're
stealing
taking.
that bitch.
No, 100%. That would work really well for you. Don't you have a lightning bolt tattoo? Yeah,
There
babe.
you go.
How do
There
I
you
open
go.
a jumbo-esque bar strip club in Birmingham and call it the Electric Lady?
With
Yeah.
lots of money.
Ugh.
If
Are
you'd
you
like to
rich? Could
donate to
you? Yeah.
Sydney's
Yeah.
Birmingham Burlesque Bar Fund, please join our Patreon.
God. I'm gonna be a
Um,
sugar daddy to fund me.
could be
Kyle
a good
Gallner.
setup. But yeah, I think it is. It's part of the problem with the marketing of this movie, kind of like I said before, is that it is basic. It's not saying, but it is basically saying you'll never guess the twist. And it's like, now you told me that there's a twist, and I'm immediately trying to guess what it is. And if you're telling me go in blind, I am immediately going, okay, so you're trying to trick me. So I'm guessing the opposite of what you're telling me. Um, but some of it is done really, really well, especially in Here Kitty Kitty, where they show Ed Begley Jr.'s body on the floor. And so it's like there's a dead body on the floor, and he's like hunting through the house with the rifle, shooting indiscriminately into their beautiful woodwork chests, their
I was so
trunks.
upset about that. I was like,
I
that's a
know.
How
beautiful
could they do
trunk.
that?
So like that setup is so good because it's not just like he's chasing her down, it's like now the implied violence against innocent bystanders around. So it seems
Mhm.
really leads you to the conclusion. And him being like, here, kitty, kitty feels so like callous.
So,
Yeah.
ugh. Just
Like,
And
like
it
it's a
also
little
like
feels,
sinister.
sexual and sinister and
yeah,
like, oh my God, really gives you the
especially with like the
heebie-jeebies.
choking and in the car where it's like kind of, you don't see this scene later yet, but where it's like, I don't know, it gives like this intimate feel. I think that chapter 5, the second chapter, Here Kitty Kitty, that does some really, really good work with the setup, because chapter 3, again, it's great, he's chasing her down, he's literally running her off the road, shooting out her car, waiting to see if she gets up, and then hunting her down again. Like that is great, but also it was reminding me a lot of Death, what is it, Death Proof, the first time that we watched it. And so obviously in that movie we know that the tables get turned, so I was like, And again, it's chapter 1 in a movie, chapter 3, the first chapter, in a movie where they're like, we're gonna turn the tables on you at some point. So I was like, okay, just like don't file this away as like serious information. But then when you see a dead body on the floor and he's walking around with a rifle, it really feels like, okay, so he's killing bitches.
Yeah, no, seriously. I don't know. I just love how it leaves you like you think I don't know, even with what you're saying, Chelsea, you still have enough evidence to think you have seen this before, you know what's gonna happen, whatever. I just think it's artfully done, and then even like even if like plot wise and like story wise, it's not like the most critically like the most brilliant new idea that you've ever had. I just think like all aspects of the artistry that went into this movie make it feel really special. So like I talked about it at the end of last episode, but this is Giovanni Ribisi's first time being the cinematographer. Apparently he'd worked in that space for a long time before. So I found out, but he'd never been like actually the DP for a movie before. And then like part something that let's see if I can find this quote in my notes. Hold on. The intention always for this movie, and I think there's just something with JT Mollner and just something with Giovanni Ribisi, is like they love to work with 35 millimeter. So it's not like, oh, like what if we do 35 millimeter? Like that could be cool. He was saying like, it was there's a quote from JT Mollner. He said, it was never something up for discussion because it really was the only way for us. I love shooting film so much. Aesthetically, it was right, but it also just levels up workflow and performance on set. Every shot matters and it forces you to prepare. It keeps me disciplined. I really liked that quote too, because I've heard a lot about how difficult it is to work with film. You can't just waste these takes, it's so expensive. Um, it's you can't just keep the camera rolling. Like there's a finite amount on each roll. You really have to keep it in to really hone things in. And just to think about like I how great the performances are in this. In my opinion, like Kyle and Willa are really really strong in this movie. And so I think that's really cool that like using film like really forces everybody to come correct, and like practice everything beforehand, make use of rehearsal and stuff. So it makes everything feel more intentional. Um yeah, and also like the look of it too was just so gorgeous. The Technicolor, they went into this like really wanting to do like a primary color thing, primary color palette. So, we have the demon, he's in his red shirt and black. We have like red mostly being the color, but also he's wearing the yellow glasses, the red
Mhm.
car, the red scrubs. Like apparently when they were putting together that chase scene, not the chase scene, sorry, the running scene that opens the film, he had envisioned in his head, JT Molnar, like teal scrubs on on Willa's character, on the lady. Just because that's like a more common color for scrubs, I think, or he just was
Mhm.
really had teal in his head. And Giovanni was like, why? And he was like, I don't know, like I envisioned it this way. Giovanni was like, you said you wanted to do primary colors. Why are you doing teal is a tertiary color or whatever? And he like hammered him home, and he's like, no, you're right. It has to be red. And so I think they changed everything to be red, which was much more iconic, though less common scrub color. But they also said that they're really inspired by like the look and feel of like 60s films. And I feel like that really, really comes across. This just really feels like an art project, like an art film to me, between the look, the film, the coloring, and then also the music and the score. Um, there's like tons. There's the musician Z Ward did like a whole album. She like created an entire it's Z Ward, right?
Z
Yeah.
Berg, I think.
Z Berg? Oh, sorry. It is Z Berg. I'm so sorry. Z Ward is somebody else. There's another person with Ward in their name and it's not her. Z Berg, she was like, I think JT just really liked her music, wanted to use some of it, but then she like brought her into the project. And she wrote, yeah, an entire album like for this. That's why the songs are weirdly specific to the film, if you
I
noticed
did
that.
notice that. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, the music is so good in this."
I was like, oh, and it's really like kind of describing the scene perfectly. It's weird
like
that
right
there's
on
this
the
song. Yeah, it's
nose.
like so on the nose. The only song, obviously, that is not original from Z Berg is Love Hurts. You might
Yeah.
have
And
heard that one
she did the
before.
cover of it. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
still in her style and her voice to mesh with the rest of them. But it's
Hmm.
interesting. He touched on a lot of that during the Q&A, but it really seems like his thing is to like be introduced to someone, meet someone, kind of become friends with them over the years, and then pull them in as collaborators, which is kind of how he met Giovanni Ribisi through a friend who worked at Kodak, which is kind of how they bonded over their love for film. And Priscilla Elliott was the production designer and had another quote on the red teal scrubs thing that really was just about like you have to be really disciplined, and like when directors are making choices like this, they're just like, ugh, why can't they just be like disciplined and like stick to what they're saying? And so he was like, okay. And Zeberg was someone who he had like met on a hike or something. And they had just kind of stayed in contact over the years over text. And she said one day, like, not one day, she said, but at one point she said, like, oh, yeah, I'll do the soundtrack for one of your movies one day. And then he hit her up and she just came up with this whole soundtrack, and she does all of them on there except there's one that his mom sang.
Oh,
um
yeah.
One on there is let me see if I can find it in my notes. His I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. But one of them he had his mom do this out. Oh, To Forget You. I don't remember where in that movie that one is, but that's the one his mom sang it, which I think is so cute and so sweet. But yeah, I mean, he really seems to have this approach of just like making these connections and relationships with people and then like pulling them in whenever he sees the opportunity, which seems like it comes up with some really good collaborative relationships for
Yeah.
him.
Mhm.
Well, and it's also just fun to work with your friends. So he's making his life easier that they can connect on that level. I don't know. I love how immersive his relationships are, and how immersive how everyone just like fully puts 10 toes standing on business when when they're working on these projects with him. Sorry, I just watched the Standing on Business episode of Love Island last night, so that's why that happened. Sorry about
I
that. I'm
thought you
still
might have finally watched the Justin Bieber clip. Is it
No, okay, I
I'm
also heard
standing
that.
on
I heard
Disney?
that. I did hear that. I heard the audio. I did not watch it. I don't want to see him. I don't want to look at him. Okay. um But okay, I just want to put a little shine on our hippie couple here,
The
cuz
mountain people.
the mountain people, they are so amazing. Frederick
Or not mountain
and
people, if you will.
Genevieve. Yeah, they're not
They're
mountain
not
people.
mountain
They're
people.
they're old they're old hippies.
Except
They're
for
just
him,
old
he's not
hippies.
really an old hippie. He's more of an old biker.
He's more of an
Yeah.
old biker, and also they're not just old hippies and old bikers. They're actually doomsday preppers, who are cryptozoologists, might I add. I just love
Squatchy in these woods.
Right.
Squatchy in these woods. I was so obsessed with that because there's like just the whole setting of their home was so cool. And it kind of felt like the scene of this thing that I saw Giovanni and JT talking about, where it was like kind of the mission statement of this movie for them was like, what was it? Blood. Hold on. Sorry. Blood on the flower bed. That was
Mm.
the mission statement for the movie. So you can interpret that many different ways, but like you kind of have this like idyllic look of things. Everything's beautiful, technicolor, it's very stylized. And then there's this like insane, gory, horrible thing happening throughout it. And then it's very literal in this scene, and all the scenes that are at the home. because like, oh my God, that is the most beautiful cutie little house I've ever seen. They have the most beautiful garden. They have this like beautiful idyllic setup. They're absolute freaks. They are blasting like a radio show about Sasquatch, I'm assuming, into the forest to keep him away. Like
Which
being
is
like, we
incredible.
know about you, by the way, and we're attuned and we are listening to this person online who's giving me all the latest updates about what your people are doing to red-blooded Americans. Okay. I loved that detail so much. And I
Yeah,
also loved Oh yeah.
I feel like they have an ethos of like spreading the news as well.
Yeah.
And like trying to get the word out. Maybe that's part of the movie. I'm not sure. There's actually a quote at the very, very like last second of the movie at the end of the credits. I can't remember if we heard it in theaters or not, but I was like, I feel like there's something, so I stayed until the end. And at the very end, there's a quote, I think that has got to be like pseudo from this radio station that says, "From the high desert and the majestic American West, I bid you all a good evening or good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be across this great land of ours. This is the world famous Shore to Spooky Shore AM, Dark Night in the Desert, and I'm Mark Pallone." So I'm like, I don't know what that is, and it didn't occur to me to Google it until just now. But I thought it was so interesting that it was in there right at the end.
That is really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't stay till the end while watching it this time. I was wondering why there were 6 minutes in the credits. And I was like, oh, I'll look at the end and see if there's anything. And it was just more red text on a black screen. So I didn't click on it. Damn it.
Yeah, it's like at the very end, the screen is completely black. There aren't even like subtitles for it. And I just Googled Shore to Spooky Shore AM, and it does bring up the track To Forget You by Zeeberg from this soundtrack. So it's part of that. And I don't know if that's just like the intro to that song.
What is it?
But
Spooky to Spooky Coast?
Shore to Spooky Shore AM. It says that same part that I just read. I'm feeling nostalgic tonight, so before we have our first guest, I'd like to kick things off with a song. This delectable ditty from back in 1971 is like a diamond. Dust it off and it'll never lose its shine. Ginny Pallone Mollner was the most popular singer in my house growing up. Bet I'm not the only one. Here she is with one of her very best, certainly one of my favorites, To Forget You. So now I'm like, is that JT Mollner's uncle or something, maybe? I don't know.
That reminds me of that late night spooky radio show. What is it called? I can't remember.
Is that Coast to Coast?
AM? Yeah, it might be that.
Art Pallone is a character voiced by Giovanni Ribisi in the film Strange Darling.
Love that.
How interesting.
Well, there's also this radio show called Coast to Coast that like is late night and it like talks about all this stuff. I listened to a podcast episode on it. There's a Nocturne episode on it. Nocturne is a great podcast, by the way. I don't know if it still exists, but it's like only about things that happen in the night, and it's very spooky. And they have great audio production. You should listen to it. But yeah, they have one about that specifically. So that feels like kind of like what they were broadcasting, and that's fun that that was Giovanni Ribisi voicing that. Yeah, Art Pallone. I see him. Oh, he's got such a cute little mustache. Love him so much. Yeah, I think that they did a really good job, and this is in contrast to what we see in last week's movie. I think I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025. Like, I think that they do a really good job of like giving you a really full picture of who these people are in not so many words. Like, maybe not totally as much with Kyle Gallner, but even then you still get a lot from him. But like through Willa's performance, you learn so much, and then they just like give you so many interesting details in these short moments we have with Frederick and Genevieve, where I can like really picture their entire life together. Like it seems so unnecessary, but that breakfast scene,
Their
I learned
stomachs are
so
made of
much.
steel.
I learned so much. There's like 6 like
There's so much butter.
full butters.
I literally was like gagging a
It's
little bit.
upsetting. One of my discussion questions for the movie is, would you eat the mountain people's breakfast?
No, I have
Yeah.
been so
I would
nauseous
have
today because
sorry.
and when I was like rewatching that earlier today, I just kept being like, what?
Yeah.
I would have one bite just to know what eggs in that much butter tasted like to see if it makes it better.
It's
But
just
I don't
crazy
think I
because
could
they're not
handle the
even cooking
canned
it in that much
jam.
butter. They just put the butters, they just smack that slab on there.
Well,
Raw
that's at the end. No,
butter.
they're cooking it in like an insane amount of butter.
Yeah,
They're
but then
cooking
they just
everything in
pile
like
it
4
on.
sticks. Oh yeah, and then they just put butter in between. I don't know. It looked delicious. I was
would
like,
try
I'd
parts
take
of
one
it.
bite.
Yeah,
I'd
I don't
take
want
one
that
bite.
full plate. I'm upset by that full plate.
No, you'd have to have a bathroom right next door, so you can
I
go
also
shit
don't
your brains
really.
out.
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, some foods can touch, but those foods should not all be touching. You know, that's a lot of different flavor profiles in there.
I liked that everything was touching except for the amount of jam, jelly, blueberry, whatever the fuck that pie filling. I don't know. That was too much of that. That would have ruined it. Just like a little dab of that. That does sound really good. But all
She
the
looks like
rest of
she'd
it,
make her own jams too, so it kind of felt like. I mean, I guess maybe she didn't have time
you're
this week. She's pulling from
typecasting
her doomsday stores, but
She's got a lot of other things to do. She's got to keep on Squatch Watch. Oh, say that. Say Squatch Watch. You're gonna like
Squatch
it.
Watch.
Doesn't it feel good? Yeah. But apparently something that's really funny. The first the first scene that like the higher ups, like producers or whatever, maybe Miramax themselves, like saw from this movie. It was like one of the first sequences that they filmed was this like breakfast sequence. And so then they like that's like the first
Why?
thing that I don't know. Maybe that's just like scheduling when they could get Ed Begley Jr. and Barbara Hershey. Like I have no idea, but that's just they never filmed things in order anyway, you know. So whatever the reason may be. And so they're like they just didn't get it at all, and they were like really pissed. They're like, "What the fuck is this movie that you're making?" And so JT Mollner was like, "Yeah, next time I do a movie, I'm gonna film like I don't know the crazy car chase scene first or something to really sell it, because that probably might have been part of the start to the issues with Miramax. Jeez, um, but okay, but I don't want to forget about this, so I'm just gonna say this now. It's unrelated to the film at large, but it's actually deeply related because it's makes me respect JT Mollner on a level that I didn't really think that I could or would. You know, I was just like, that's just a nice white man, whatever. No, he is part of a family business that puts on Halloween haunted houses. Everyone needs to know about this. It's super important. Let me find out what the name is. I have it right here. Oh, yeah. A seasonal business, haunted houses. They DIY the space. And he literally, like, is a writer, right? He wrote this as well. He would, like, write the scripts for all of the characters. And so it was, like, really well thought out. So he, like, made them, like, rehearse lines. It's not just like Halloween Horror Nights where they're like, "Rah!" or whatever, which I still love Halloween Horror Nights. Don't get me wrong. Apparently, oh my God. Yeah, it's called the Freakling Brothers. Freakling Brothers
That's
is the
incredible.
company. Freakling Brothers was started by his brother. And apparently they had the very first R-rated horror attraction in the Western US.
I didn't know that they rated horror attractions on that
Well,
scale.
they had to start doing it because he made one so scary. It was rated R. I just thought that was like such incredible lore. Oh, I was like, I'm gonna eat this up. I could eat this up like the nasty breakfast. Yum 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 yum. I love him. I love him so much.
Can we talk about my favorite thing in this
Yeah.
movie? The cigarette.
Oh, The cigarettes were so good, and I'm glad that she just came out and said it, that the vape doesn't hit the same, because it don't.
No, and you don't look cool when you vape.
You don't. You look really dumb.
I'm big anti-vape, big cigarette girly. I'm like, I don't know. I love cigarettes. I love the way they smell. I love the way they taste when you're kissing a smoker.
Oh my
Maybe
God.
I'm weird.
I
but-
smoked a cigarette at my job last week to be cool.
And guess what? You
It
probably
worked!
were cool.
It worked. I also was sleepy, and I woke me right up. So there you go.
They also
Don't smoke, kids.
There's get off the vape, smoke a cigarette. Do it. Get off the vape, smoke a cigarette. PSA. Look cool. Don't look like
I will
fucking
say
lame.
I do think, I mean, cigarettes are bad for you. They're bad for you. But I think that
No drinking.
No.
they're better for you than vapes, not just because there's all these studies now about how there's like lead in vapes or whatever.
Oh, no.
But also because I think when you have a vape, it's so easy to sit there just puffing away and like not thinking about what you're consuming. Whereas with a cigarette, if you have to light up a second cigarette, you do have to confront the fact that you're on your second cigarette. It's like how they say
It's
when
more
you smoke
intentional.
hookah, you're smoking like a full pack of cigarettes or whatever.
I love hookah.
Well, who doesn't love hookah? But yeah, I think cigarettes are better than vapes just in the sense of awareness. You have to confront what you're doing.
And
also,
you can
too,
go
there's
take
a
a step
sense-
outside.
There's a sense of community when you smoke,
Exactly.
right? Like you're like
But
you're
it is bad for you.
talking, which
But
the
it's also
children could
cool.
never do. They're not gonna walk
Mhm.
up to a stranger and be like, cigarette? I remember going to music festivals and like my cigarette box would be empty and I would just like go around to people and be like, cigarette, like I'll give you $1
Can
for
I
a
bum
cigarette,
a
and then like
cig?
refill my cigarette pack.
Oh my God, Sydney. I've ended friendships over cigarettes before. They can make you, they can break you, they can bring you together. And in this movie, that I think that once they start smoking that cigarette together, they sort of get more on the same page, the lady and the demon, when they're having their interesting low color flirtation in the car, their blue flirtation.
I will
I
say,
think it's so. Go ahead.
oh, go ahead. No, you go.
I think it's so interesting in chapter 1, Mr. Snuffle, which is the third chapter we see, where it starts to really, again, chapter 1. So it's like backtracking to the chronological beginning of their interaction. But even in that chapter, it's like cutting back and forth between the timeline to show you them in the motel room, talking in the car, in the motel room. Now we get you a little more setup because at first it seems like they're playing their little sexy choking game and she says stop and then they stop and then they ramp it back up. And I remember in the theater, I was like, no way that they're doing choking and her safe word is stop. So I'm not,
No.
I was like, no way that stop is her safe word. I just don't buy it. I'm not convinced that they're not still playing. And thankfully I was rewarded because I was a little bit like, I think this movie could be so triggering if you don't know what it is that you're watching. And I think I said that to Monica. And then I was like, well, if all that you know going in is that it's a man chasing a woman to kill her, maybe you know what you're signing up for. I don't know. But it's so interesting, even within that chapter, the way that they're like, we'll give you a little and then we'll explain, and we'll give you a little and then we'll explain. And they are just like playing it back and forth. I just touched my blood.
No.
You wipe it on your face. Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting how they play that out because it is really scary to see the choking happen, but then like the reveal
It
is
really seems like he's
almost
throttling
comical.
her.
Yeah, because he's like so
all his muscles
frustrated.
are, yeah.
I thought they were having a good time.
And I think they were.
Uh-huh.
They were. Well, not at first. He was not into it. He was like, I'm just choking you because you want me to choke you. And she's like, it's not hitting.
That was, I think,
better.
part of the pretend.
Yeah. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. I thought that scene was hot. Sorry. Oops. I thought it
Same.
was hot. It was super hot.
Taylor was
"Oh,
like
cool."
so alarmed by it, and I was like, yes, this is what the people want. This is.
It's
I mean-
alarming, but consensual role play done, performed well, is very sexy.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what she wanted. But I don't know if it like also freaked her out too, because like again, I think this is what you're starting to say. Like she did say snuffleupagus like earlier than I would have expected from someone who was getting exactly what they had described in detail that they wanted done very well. But I guess he didn't expect him to be a classically changed
He
classically
was in a
trained
motel
commercial
Thespian?
actor.
Holiday Inn or whatever.
Well, but also, like, doesn't she say at some point, like, for a little bit, it was like real or something like that? Doesn't she say?
I think you might be thinking of when she's in the ice box at the end and she's talking about like their connection in general.
Yeah, but maybe I'm wondering if, like, in that moment, she was like, oh God, and then that's why she stopped it. Like,
Oh,
so
she was like
quickly.
into him. Yeah, no, that could be it too. Because weirdly enough, I didn't think about it from this angle, but like Giovanni and JT were going back and forth. Sorry, I'm calling them like they're my friends. But I love
Our
them.
close
so they're my
personal friends.
Also, Giovanni Ribisi is hard to say over and over and over again. Anyway, they were saying like at the end of this, we kept going back to focusing on how this is a love story in a way. Let me find exactly that. So we always just wanted to really focus on, for a lack of the better term, the love story or the story of human connection and the tragedy of the human connection in the movie more than anything else. So that was really like a goal for the film to like focus in on this relationship between them and where it went wrong. And I thought that was so interesting because I was like, was not thinking about the authenticity of their connection that much. I mean, obviously we get so much dialogue between them. It's very intense conversation in the car and then everything that goes down in the motel leading up to the moments where things become legitimately violent. Um I don't know. So that is an interesting read that it could possibly have been that it was too much.
Well,
Like,
yeah, I think
too much emotion, not just too much sexual whatever or too scary, too much throttling.
yeah, I don't think it's that the role play was too realistic, although I saw I can't remember if it was an article or a discussion board on Reddit or whatever it is right now. But I saw a suggestion that she has like experience the electric lady has experienced abuse at the hands of men in the past, and it would make a lot of sense psychologically with her performing this kink, that it's a way of like reclaiming an experience and reliving an experience in a way that it is consensual and pleasurable to you, to sort of just like find a way to live with something that has happened to you. And that makes sense. And I think also one of the things they talked about in the Q&A was the love, romance, connection aspect of it. And I think the fact that it comes, I don't think it was like too scary for her. I think to some degree, she's being so playful with him. Like she calls Mr. Snuffleupagus and he gets her out of there. And then she's like, turns her little crying into laughter and is like, whatever, I just needed a breather. I just like wanted a glass of water or something, maybe. Like I think she definitely enjoys the mental wrestling of this exercise. Yeah. But I also think it's notable that when she sees him as a demon, that seems to happen. I mean, he's the first one that we see it with, but that seems to happen when she perceives someone as being a threat to her. So it's like right after they've had this genuine connection and this kiss, and it's only when she pulls away that she sees it, is kind of like, if you are a serial killer and you are seeing people as demons and you have this trauma in the past that you are maybe not confronting head on, you're kind of just playing out over and over. If you have a genuine, real connection with somebody, that brings you to a vulnerable place. And if you don't know how to engage with that, or if you don't know how to engage with that while still being the other person that you are, which is the electric lady, the idea of like very genuinely possibly finding romance with someone or love with someone, even if only in a night, can be really scary. Like there are a lot of people who have less stable attachment styles where the idea of being in a healthy relationship is like the scary thing rather than being in an abusive up and down roller coaster relationship, because like that's what they're used to and therefore that is what is comfortable and familiar. So like having something real, like sometimes that is what gets perceived as a threat because it's like I don't even know how to engage with that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Because like, we don't know the level to which her like visions or whatever you might call it when she says that she sees demons. So, we don't know
What
exactly
that
how
means.
that works. But like remind me also. Okay, I also rewatched this last night and I was fucking exhausted. And so I did not have my smart brain on. And then I wanted to rewatch it this today, like with the end fresh in my mind, but I did not get to finish that. So this is just going off of yesterday's memory. Are you saying the part when is that she sees the demon is when she kind of like goes like there's that shot that's like her head on and she like makes the like crazy face staring at him? Is that the part? Or
Yes, it's in chapter 1, Mr. Snuffle, and
yeah,
it's
it's like
like right at the end as she's pulling away from the kiss, and it's like a flash of red on screen. It's too fast for you to really see what it is. But I went through it frame by frame and I screenshotted it.
oh sick.
Um
Oh my god, send me the screenshot.
I certainly will.
Thank
And it's very
you.
spooky looking.
Okay, cuz I watched that yesterday and I was like, what was that part of it? Like, that's such an interesting reaction. Is she just trying to like freak him out by seeming like not necessarily unstable, but just like unpredictable? Because she keeps switching up on him all the time, to keep him
On his
not
toes.
unsteady, exactly, unsteady on his feet. Oh my God.
It's
Spooky.
creepy.
It's
Yeah.
spooky. It's a spooky looking
Um
demon, folks.
I wrote down basically that whole quote from TJ Mollner in the Q&A. And he says, "We talked about them playing the love story in earnest and having a real connection until something changes, something shifts. I was hoping that any of us ever been in a relationship that felt really right at one point and then all of a sudden something just shifts and you lose it. I thought, most people have had that happen at some point in their lives, even if it's over the course of one night, but also if it's over the course of years or months, there might just be a sign when something shifts and you're looking at that person and you see something else and you feel like you're in a room with a stranger." So he was talking about that moment. He said there's a very clear moment in the script and in the movie that I'm sure everybody remembers. They were speaking so vaguely because they didn't want anybody to accidentally like film anything and leak it before
Record.
the movie came out. Even though they were speaking exclusively to people who had just seen the movie.
They
Um,
don't trust us and they shouldn't because you
and they
recorded the whole
shouldn't.
thing.
No, I did, and I memorized it, and then I wrote down this quote from the transcript that I had in my brain. Um, blah blah blah. They see something totally different than they saw a little bit earlier, and so we, even in those final moments of the film when the two leads are talking to each other, we wanted them to have a real connection and really feel something for each other, even if there's no fucking way it could work out. So it really is like right before that shift, it's like that's when things were the most real. And Willa talked about how even after that moment, there are these sort of moments for the lady of like finding hope and like the possibility that you could still like go back to that maybe, and like can you kind of backtrack, are things irreparably changed after she's decided that he's a devil and that she has to electric lady him, or however you want to verb her serial killing actions.
Merc.
But it's so interesting. She said Lady's fundamental need is connection and being seen. So for her to have someone that's so on board with what she's asking for and so able to actually give it to her and like deliver and not like lose their shit and be so freaked out and go screaming in the other direction. I think it got tipped over into a point of like it's not a game anymore, and that's when things became dangerous.
Yeah, I was trying also just now to like think back of all the people that she killed and try to understand like the not ethos, but like maybe just to like dive into her psyche a little bit about like what triggers her to see the demon. Cause the first person that we see her kill, I think, is that woman in the lobby of the hotel Holiday Inn,
Mm-hmm.
who is like going to help her. She's
She's
like
about to call
going
the
to
police.
she is going
Mhm.
okay, she's about to call the police. So I think it's like it's so interesting because like she is a very human character despite the inhumane things that she's doing throughout the film because she is just like survival on steroids and like true like fear of impending you're in the inescapability of death. She's absolutely terrified. Classic situation where she can dish it but she can't take it, am I right? um but like she's just like wants to be compassionate. So interesting to see her with like different like women characters in particular where she's like I don't want to hurt you. Like the lady in the red scrubs who she steals her fucking
Mhm.
sick ass car and her red scrubs. Um but then like, you know, if anything goes out like if anything looks like a credible threat then like that compassion is gone in less than 60 seconds in 1 second like with Genevieve the old hippie lady like the
Mhm.
second that she comes back around and is about to out her, well, she outs herself and kills her right then, you know, gunshot to the head. And then that woman is just like, she didn't even try to reason with the woman in the motel. She just like immediately stabs her in the throat. I just was
Yeah.
playing around with the idea where like if someone it did it seem like when someone showed like compassion to her that she also got violent because it sort of felt that way too. But I don't know. What were you gonna say, Chelsea?
I actually assumed that I knew what you were gonna say, and I was wrong. But I was gonna say the girl cop, is so compassionate to her, and so
Mhm.
she lets her go explicitly because I think in part of I think women in general, she is more compassionate.
Yes.
We actually see her kill more women than men. But I think she's more compassionate to them. It's just that she has this drive to move forward, whatever that looks like. And I think for a lot of the movie, it's freedom. And then there's a part of the movie where it's not freedom, it's just survival. Because she has that whole speech when she's in the icebox that's saying, like, I thought I'd be like Gary Gilmore, who asked for the firing squad because, like, he couldn't stand the idea of being in a jail
Mhm.
cell. But when it is compared to the idea of not being alive, I'm like, give me my three hots and a cut. Like, I'll make it work. So I mean, I guess you could argue that that is like not her true feelings. It's just that she doesn't see another way out, and maybe that's a play that she's making with Kyle Gallner's character, the demon. But I think generally speaking, I don't think I mean, does she want to kill people or does she have to kill people? It's a very Dexter question. Um,
Mhm.
but I think generally speaking, if she thinks that she can run away from something, she's fine with leaving someone alive, even if they're a witness, even if they know exactly what she's done. She only kills Ed Begley Jr. when he's like really insisting on calling the police and going for the phone. Um, Barbara Hershey, she maybe could have let off the hook. But because it's like if you're gonna get revealed to the cops in that moment one way or another, you didn't have to kill her. You could have
Yeah.
whatever. But generally speaking, she does what she can to be like, okay, I'm just gonna tie you up. I'm just gonna lock you away. I'm just gonna keep it pushing, run into the field and don't look back. But when someone is standing in her way too much, or is too much of a something too scary to her, that's when they become a demon. And I again,
Yeah.
does she have a drive where she has to kill, or is she like whatever that is? You can see how this would be like the way that her internal narrative is able to justify doing what she has to do by being like, actually, that person's a demon. So actually, that person needs to be taken out.
Well, I think that I kind of figured out a way to boil it down. I think it looks different in different scenarios where she kills different people, but I think it boils down to like whenever she feels vulnerable, then that person making her feel that way becomes the demon. So like for example, like feeling vulnerable as in like that lady in the motel's going to call the cops, that's making her vulnerable to being arrested. She's about to be outed by that woman to these other cops. She needs to kill her right then and there. Like there's no other, she needs to take control of the scenario. But a little bit differently with the demon himself, or Kyle Gallner, however it makes sense to you, and the cop at the end, I think.
Pete.
Because huh?
Pete.
Pete.
That's his name.
Heath. I thought you said Heath, and I was like, I don't remember that.
I thought you said Heat, and I was like, who's Heat?
Heat. But with Kyle Gallner, they're having that passionate kiss, and maybe she feels vulnerable in that moment because this is a person who has seen the things that she's into and rises to the occasion and is into them too. So she might feel vulnerable there. And then also with Pete at the end, she finally reveals to him that she sees these demons and she's been vulnerable with him and shared this part of her that is her modus operandi, the reason that she does what she does. And then he becomes a demon and she shoots him right then. So I think it's like emotional and physical vulnerability that are her triggers.
For sure. That's one point that I was just about to say. It's when she is talking about like her earnest truth and experience of the world with Pete in the car, that it's like that's the moment that she sees him
exactly
as a demon.
Anytime that she feels vulnerable, then her body reacts to that by projecting this vision of a demon or something. Yeah.
And I'd have to review the tapes, I guess, to be sure. I do feel in my heart, I'm not sure particularly why, I do feel in my heart that we know that she saw the hotel manager as a demon. I don't know if we get a flash of something there. Okay.
I don't think we see anything. What we hear is this. I remember this one really well because I just rewatched it. She runs in. The lady's about to close the door, and it says she's going to call the cops. She stabs her in the neck. She goes over to the other woman. And she's like, I know that seemed so horrible. You won't understand it, but I had to do that.
Yeah.
And the way that she said it was like, it wasn't just like,
it was like
I had to do it because whatever. It was like, I had to do that. And like for me later when I saw the demon thing, I was like, oh, she saw her as a demon.
Yeah. But I don't think that we necessarily get that with Ed Begley Jr. or with Barbara Hershey. Like those might just be like survival kill, not demon survival kills. I was too vulnerable, but like just like they're standing in my way kind of kills. I mean, you could go back and review the tapes. That's how she
describes all of her kills. I mean, it's just not from her perspective in that moment. I think if they did the demon flash thing every single time, it would be a little heavy-handed. So I think from that perspective, I don't know. We're not like in her head as much as we are in those other moments. It's more like there's more things going on. I don't know. I think it worked the way that it was, at least for me. But yeah, I mean, maybe she doesn't see demons every time, but I think that's a huge part of like how she moves and makes peace with herself.
I think that's definitely her like MO as the electric lady, is that she is like hunting demons essentially, if you will.
Okay, supernatural.
But I'm open to her having moments where she's just like, it is what it is, and this is how I gotta move forward.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because, well, I guess she does say about Ed Begley Jr. when she's talking to Barbara Hershey. She says, I didn't want to do that. I had to. Can you put your hands up, please, just to make both of us feel more relaxed? This is going to be a really tough one for you to believe, but I'm not going to kill you. I promise. I am going to have to tie you up, though. All right. So she says that same thing there of like, I didn't want to do that. I had to do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think she sees the demon for people.
Mm-hmm.
I like my little vulnerability thing. That's how my brain thinks about it.
I think for sure that is what's going on. I just am also open to some additional material of her just doing kills.
Totally.
For funsies.
Okay, so we've talked about chapter 1, chapter 3, chapter 5. Did we talk about chapter 2? I think so. Where are we? Are we at the end? It's all over the place.
The
How
order
are we
is
supposed to know?
well, I wrote down the order of the chapters. Don't worry.
Thank God.
Chapter 3, Can You Help Me Please? Chapter 5, Here Kitty Kitty. Chapter 1, Mr. Snuffle. Chapter 4, The Mountain People. Chapter 2, Do You Like to Party? And so that's when it really backtracks to them.
Oh,
but
yeah,
now
let's
you
talk about
know
the
she's
drugs.
seen him as the demon. And so you know it's like now she's not playing with her food necessarily. But she's very much coming at it from an angle of like, I know how men operate. And I need to be kind of like seducing him back to getting him in the position that I want him in, where she says, he notices that like she was looking at him weird. And she says, I was just looking at you and you're so handsome. It went straight to my head. How did I get so lucky tonight? So she's just kind of like charming him to put him at ease again. And then being like, oh, you don't want to do these drugs? Well, what if it was my birthday? Would you want to do drugs then?
You should restart your Coke problem because it's my birthday.
Yes.
And then as soon as she like has got him to do the ketamine, that's when she like gives up the shtick of pretending that it is like a sexual interaction still, and she like shoves him off of her, and he's like, "What is going on? Like, are we doing this or not? Like, what is this game anymore? You keep changing the rules."
She can't hook up with a demon, Chelsea.
Can't hook up with a demon.
Yeah.
And she does
That's
that
not
mean
her
impression
thing.
where she's like, "Are we gonna fuck?" Where she says it like so mean and like he
She's
is
so
dumb.
mean.
And then she says the line that she fed to him earlier, which is, you know what? We're done when I say we're done. Do you understand that? So that's when things are really like flipping again, but now they're real. But I think the situation with him is so interesting because we've talked about this before, but I remember talking about this specifically on the episode where we did the Love Witch, which is that there are things that you can do to a man in a horror movie or as a violent woman that are almost easy to do because men just straight up don't have the same social conditioning as women, where like literally we've already had the setup of them being in the car and her being like, you know, you're actually really vulnerable when you're having casual sex with a stranger that you're having casual sex with could murder you or be a serial killer. I'm entering this into the conversation and I'm looking at you and I'm talking about this and you're not internalizing at all that danger can come for anybody. You're so confident in your ability as a man. And I mean, he knows at that point that he's a police officer. We don't know, and she doesn't know yet. But he's so confident in his ability as a man and a police officer that like he's never going to be the person who's the vulnerable one. It just doesn't even occur to him, even when she's saying like, this is a very realistic threat. She doesn't say she's presenting it as a women's issue to him specifically. But the way that he never even questions that it could be a threat that he might face as well, that he could be vulnerable to as well. I don't know. I just think it's so interesting. It's so right there for him to confront. He knows presumably about the electric lady. And he just is so confident that he can go to a bar and pick up a woman and bring her to a hotel, and there's nothing to worry about.
Classic
Especially because he's a
man.
cop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, devastating that he's a cop because he's so no. Don't be a cop. You're so
No,
sexy.
to be cop, you're too sexy.
He's
That's
also
like
married.
I think he might
What?
be like
I
getting a
missed
divorce.
that.
He says they keep their groceries on different shelves and that it's fine. But he is wearing a wedding ring.
Oh, I thought they were like in the middle of getting a divorce, but
What does he say? Did I write? Yes, some mysterious other she is involved, but don't worry, their groceries are on different shelves. That's my note.
a cab.
Yeah, he is the quote scare quote victim in this situation, but he's also not like
He's not a good
that.
dude. He's a demon.
Yeah, he's not a morally perfect person, okay? What's up, Chelsea? You had an epiphany?
Well, that's what is interesting in chapter 6, Who's Gary Gilmore, is when they like have their conversation about the electric lady, blah blah blah. And he calls Pete to come clean up his mess, help him out. And Pete shows up with his partner. And this is the section that really produced some online discourse. Because the girl police officer automatically believes her and is calling the boy police officer misogynistic, basically, for not getting on board immediately with this narrative that the lady is the victim, and that he's insensitive. And then it turns out that the girl cop is wrong and Pete is right, and he calls her a dumb bitch. And so people were like, is this a don't believe women narrative?
Yeah.
Is this Me Too went too far narrative? What's the deal? And there are certainly some reads of that, and I read some articles about that, but I also found a Reddit thread discussing it that I thought had some really interesting nuance and takes on the situation, which is that just because the male cop says it and he happens to be right that in this particular scenario she wasn't the victim, she was a perpetrator, doesn't mean that that is the narrative of the movie, but that the movie is more about the bias that people bring in and their way that their own experiences color their perspective. And they shouted out how a lot of the people of color in this movie are more wary of this white woman who is coming in screaming about her victimhood, because there is also the trope of, not trope, real life thing of how, white woman tears, and how white women can use their femininity and their whiteness to present themselves as like, not that it always works, obviously, because we also live in a patriarchal society, but they can use that to present themselves as like an innocent party, when they're not always an innocent party. Emmett Till, for example. But so that the people of color are just like a little more wary going in, including Pete the cop, including the Native American woman at the end,
and the woman in the scrubs.
Yeah, the woman in the scrubs in the hotel who's like, I just don't want to get involved. I don't want anything to do with any of this. And so I think that is something that is potentially interesting about the demon, is if they're all coworkers, it's very easy to look at the girl cop and go like, what a dumb bitch. She fell for it. She got tricked. And Pete is the cop who's been around since she was in diapers and he knows what he's doing. But also the context is that's the demon's friend. RC is his name, as Pete calls him, actually. Pete is friends with RC and therefore more likely to side with RC, who's the one calling him into the situation.
And he calls him in as like a favor.
Yeah. maybe the girl cop has her own experiences with the demon slash RC Kyle Gallner's character, where she knows that he's a piece of shit who cheats on his wife.
Yeah.
And maybe she has reason to
With
believe
a drug
that
problem.
he could possibly be assaulting women and be terrible to women
Totally.
and be trying to do something shady on the job. Like, we're just getting this one snapshot, and I totally see why people would question that narrative and be very wary of a character's perspective being presented as the viewpoint of the film. But I think
But it is
being
just
a
the
reflection,
character's viewpoint.
yeah,
And that's
and
what this
how
whole movie is about, is flipping your perceptions of what you think is true, whatever your perception might be, you know. Whatever you expect might not be the case, good or bad. So, I think it follows along in those same footprints. But yeah, that is definitely, I was watching that part and I was like, "Oh no.
woof. Yeah, it's
The
so woof.
incels probably went crazy for this."
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's like, you dumb bitch, it does feel like it is the movie saying that in that moment a little bit. But also you could read it as like she perceives Pete, this older cop, to be kind of a misogynist, who is not gonna believe a woman in this scenario. And maybe the fact that he immediately is calling a woman a bitch is exactly proof of that.
Totally. Or also he's just mad at her because she got him into the situation that will end up ending his life. So he's just a little angry.
No, couldn't be that.
I don't know. I think it's interesting. I do think the movie could have been written in a way to sidestep that a little more and not step so directly into that, where it could be like they're following procedure a little more closely, but the electric lady is like smart enough of how she plays it. And I think that's part of it, in that like they're literally fighting over it in the crime scene. Again, it gets really blatant where she's saying like, just because I have a vagina doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to a fucking thing I have to say. And he goes, your vagina has nothing to do with it, blah blah blah. It's because you're in diapers. Like, it is like very heavy handed.
Yeah.
But the way that the electric lady like starts faking a seizure in that moment to present it as like a very immediate medical emergency where they can't wait for EMTs or she might not live. Yeah, and so they like need to rush her ASAP instead of waiting for the EMTs to get there to rush her to the hospital. I think she does play it really well.
Totally.
But I also think there probably could have been a little room in the script to avoid that being such a predominant part of the conversation of this movie.
I think that's fair. I see what they were trying to do, but they stirred the wrong pot while doing it.
I think the fact that girl cop escapes and that Pete, older man cop, doesn't could be seen as like less of an indictment on her perspective and an endorsement of his perspective, because like she gets to live and he doesn't. But it is just kind of like a messy little minefield to be bopping about in.
Totally. I totally agree. Okay. Well, I feel like that gets us really close to the end of this movie. And I feel like one of the things that I wanted to touch on before we really go there, and this is part of that conversation, is Willa Fitzgerald's performance. I just love her. I love her face. I was just so enamored in the way that she portrayed all these different parts of this character and all of the different like characters that the electric lady like plays throughout the movie. Just like she almost like looks different. Obviously she's wearing the wig, but just like the way she holds herself in like the sexual sort of flirtatious scenes, and then like I don't know, you could say she's putting it on. She is putting it on in some aspects when she's filled with like abject horror, in particular the scenes we were just discussing with the cops and how she's like putting on that fear and stuff. But like there's also moments where it's just us watching her, and she's literally terrified for her life because she has this huge and immense fear of dying. Um, which you can call ironic all you want, but she still is a human person despite what she does. And I don't know, I just was really taken aback by her performance in this character. I just was like moved emotionally, like the face journeys that she goes on, and particularly in this final scene. That final scene fucked me up so bad. Holy shit.
Where she's
What
in
the
the truck.
fuck? Where she's in the truck. Yeah, that whole just such a great way to end this movie. I just like zoomed in on her because it is her story, and just like watching the emotions play across her face as she like realizes that she is dying and there is no other outcome, and the way that the color like leaches out of the scene the way that it does and it fades to black and white. I just thought it was so ugh, I don't know. I was like wrecked when I was watching this, when we watched it in theaters. Just, and it still hit the second time around, even when you know every twist and turn. Like, woof, I don't know. It was really effective for me.
I like that the movie starts in black and white and then ends also
Mhm.
back in black and white.
Yes.
It's very
I don't think
poetic
it
in that
hit
way.
as hard the second time that I watched it, but I
Yeah.
still had a good time. Know what I mean? Like that first time was special.
Really
Yeah.
special. So
It's really
special.
fun to let it unravel and reveal itself over the course of the story as you're breaking down the assumptions of what you thought was happening based on what you could see, and then getting the greater context for it and realizing it's such an interesting way to like, again, it does kind of lead to that question of like, if the police officer is a dumb bitch, are you a dumb bitch because you came to the same conclusions? But if it's about the bias that we enter in with and the conclusions that we draw without knowing the full story, it's a very interesting way to tell the story.
Yeah.
And I think it's, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I also was just gonna say I don't love, but it was so jarring the way that it ends. Not the exact final scene, but the what leads to her death. Because she's fought this good fight for an hour and a half. You know, she's been running all over the place, killing people, coercing people to get them to do what she wants. She's just been so on top of things, so great at rolling with the punches. And finally, at the end, she's just revealed herself to Pete and what she sees and what she goes through. And then you think she's going to make this next con work. But she's
The way
just
she
so
lies down in the
tired.
road, again, she's like so good at presenting what she thinks needs to be seen to like have her next move.
I know, and then, but you know what I thought that too, and I agree with you, and I think that was part of the game, but I also think she's just like
Exhausted.
I think she's exhausted. I think she's kind of bleeding out from her wound from inside of the refrigerator too. She's lost a lot of blood because when she gets into that car finally, like the fight is like going out of her.
The woman like touches her other shoulder at first, and she like really like winces away, and she has to go for her opposite side shoulder to help her up.
And when she pulls out the gun, you know,
Her
it's like
hand is so
her hand is shaky. Like she's already so weakened at this point. I mean, a girl can only go through so much, even the electric lady. But at what point does she look in the mirror and see herself as the demon? She's already been shot. When does that happen? I mean, I guess it's up to interpretation, but that's how I interpreted it.
She pulls out her shaky gun after seeing herself as the demon in the mirror, and then that's when the woman driver shoots her. And the question is kind of like, was she going to shoot herself? Was she going to shoot the driver? I would argue she's going to maybe shoot herself or shoot in the mirror. I don't know exactly, but I don't think that she necessarily was going to shoot the driver, but she pulls it out like this and the driver sitting over here. And so you can understand why that woman is like, well, if somebody's getting shot in this interaction, it's not going to be me.
Not gonna be me. Yeah, and that lady was just protecting herself. She calls the cops immediately. She's like, I just shot someone.
Yeah.
I shot somebody in my car.
I'm bringing them in.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, she does.
That's why you always gotta stay packing.
True, I guess. I mean, it's the two greatest fears that she has coming together in that moment, like her fear of dying herself and her fear slash need to annihilate these demons that she sees. So what do you do when you're the demon and and you're terrified of dying? Like, do you exterminate? I don't know. It's just it's such an interesting question.
Well, I think if you are coming in with the read of everybody that she has killed, she has seen as a demon, it would be very easy for her to justify to herself that she hasn't done anything wrong or harmful. She's only ever done what needed to be done. And if there's a moment where she has to confront herself and all of the choices that she's made and everything she's done in this complete moment of vulnerability and exhaustion where like her defense mechanisms fall away and finally she sees herself as the person she truly is, which is a danger, it would make sense why this is the moment that she sees herself as a demon and finally has to confront the fact that she is not a good person or not the person that she thought she was, or that her actions haven't always been justifiable, or that she's the same as them at least.
So interesting. I read a story that was super similar to this ending recently. And it was, I can't find out who the exact author is, because it was part of the compilation that Jordan Peele released. Or he was at least the editor of Out There Screaming, an anthology of new black horror. And there's a story that's super similar where there is a person who sees things, like in his case, he's a cop and he sees these evil eyes on people's cars and he knows that they're bad and he like fucks up all these people and they're like 99% people of color. It's a super fucked up story. But then it's a similar thing where it's like then he sees the eyes on his vehicle and has to realize that he's the thing that he's been exterminating or whatever. So it's a really interesting parallel and just like an interesting way to end this story where she like has gotten away with it literally, and I think she's gotten away with it mentally in a lot of ways too, because she has this justification but no longer. I don't know. Oh,
eventually at some point you have to face yourself.
Yeah, and that's the scariest thing of all.
Yeah, no matter how far you run, you're always there.
Ugh, I hate that phrase. It's so true. My cat just broke into my room. Here,
it's such an interesting journey for her though, because like we said, you are seeing those moments in the beginning when she's running away where she does have this very like earnest, sincere fear. And when I was rewatching it at first, I was like, what's going on here? Like, I don't really remember her having this later in the movie, but I guess if she sees him like a demon, then maybe it makes sense. She's like scared because he's a demon. But I also think it's just like the first time the tables have ever really been turned on her. I mean,
she's been in control.
Her MO is to have them completely like divorced from their body basically with the ketamine. Like they're not able to fight back in any meaningful way once she can get them to do the ketamine, because their body is like no longer under they're in a K-hole, you know what I mean? Like
that's why he was doing so much cocaine.
I know, I love that, where he's like, I gotta counteract the effects, I gotta be ripping this and just like shoving it in my face so that I can be running down the street and like get any energy back into my body, because I'm using this drug that is acting as like a paralytic agent essentially. And the only reason he's even able to turn the tables on her at all is because he has his ankle holster as well. Again, because he's a police officer. But it is just, it's so interesting to see the way she moves through the world and the way that she's so not scared at so many points, and the way that it is like she has to reckon with this like true threat to herself at so many other times. Sometimes the threat is her, sometimes the threat is external, but she's not always as calm and clear and composed as she likes to think that she is. She's not always as in control as she likes to think.
No, she can get scared too. Yeah, I something I thought that was so cool. Or well, I don't know. I thought it was a unique perspective of how this movie came to be with JT Mollner. Like before he had the idea of what was going to happen, he just had the image in his head of that particular part of of the lady running and covered in blood and running for her life. That image of like the final girl. Um and he wanted to take the idea of this fierce final girl and try to turn it on his head, but he didn't know how. But it just started with that image that starts the movie. So I think it's poetic that that's what literally starts the movie, because that's what started this whole creative project. And it does slay with the Strange Darling song. Slays hard. Song goes crazy. Are we ready to move on to our
Segmentos?
I think
Chelsea
so.
looks deep in thought.
I know, I'm looking at my discussion questions, but we've kind of covered everything, and or a question that I had at the time that I wrote it down got answered later on in the movie. Because one of my question is, what do we think of her wanting to be cuffed and choked while her undies are still on? And then, as it turns out, that part is all just foreplay. You know, she needs to have this setup of being choked and then pretending to call it off, and then being choked for real now before she's like really ready to get down.
Oh yeah. Also, you want
So-
your undies still on, because then like your undies get taken off while you're cuffed, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
Way
there's
hotter.
nothing I can do about
Right.
it. That's a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard in books. I've read
Allegedly.
in books. Allegedly. From the research I've done online. But anyway, how could this movie be gayer? Kyle Gallner, woman.
The mountain people could be a lesbian couple.
That would be so easy. I love Ed Begley Jr. though. I do think he is such a little cutie, and I loved his little rat tail.
Yeah, I
thought
love
such
how
an
they have the
important
matching
detail.
long braids.
Yeah. I just
Not
love
that
the rat
I-
tail.
as a
That's such what a
child.
fucking tragedy that they had to die.
I'm not advocating for cisgender actors to play transgender characters, but Ed Begley Jr. could play a transgender woman, and then they could be a lesbian couple. Just cisgender.
There you go. Solved. Easy.
And perhaps that even was going on. He just, was living his life in whatever way he wanted to be living it. But inside, he was a woman.
I love that for him. I think that's great. I just feel so sad that he had to go. And
Yeah.
it's so sad. He's like, Genevieve. What was
Yeah.
you saying her name? Ugh.
Kyle.
Terrible. You finally have the perfect relationship out in the forest. You have your doomsday prep shit ready to go. And then your human compassion is what gets you. Not even Squatch.
Kyle Gallner could be married to a man, and then he's like having a secret affair with a woman.
He's having a bisexual crisis.
I always
That's
thought
not
that
a
I
reason
was a
to
gay
cheat.
man, but I have always wanted to choke someone, and she's giving me a very interesting proposition in this bar.
And I love her wig.
And I love the wig.
I do love the wig.
I mean,
feel
there
like-
are only so many characters as part of the thing, but I do think that hotel manager is a lesbian.
Oh yeah.
She was
Hotel
giving me
manager is a lesbian. I think that the lady herself, well, I guess she is more compassionate towards women. But we've seen her see a demon woman before, so who's to say that she hasn't played this game with another woman?
Yeah, we don't know much about her victims other than there were a lot of them, and she's never put the EL on anybody's chest before.
Usually, she saves it for their butt or as a tramp stamp.
Everybody loves a tramp stamp, okay?
Yeah, even when carved into your skin, it's really nice.
I
Okay.
think it is possible that she could have feelings of sexual attraction for women, but that it is just not part of her trauma response
MO.
that she's enacting,
Mhm.
because that is like playing out as allegedly or arguably playing out like a specific experience that she had with a man. So whatever
Mhm.
she's doing with women is just like outside of what's going on here.
I can see that. Okay. Any more gay thoughts you'd like to share?
So many more gay thoughts.
Okay, it brings us to Matthew Lillard. I was already thinking about him because he brought up Life of Chuck earlier. He would be an absolutely dashing Ed Begley Jr. or Pete.
Yeah, those are
Can't
really
be
his only two options.
he can't be
Oh,
Kyle
no!
Gallner.
No, he could be that one guy that pops out of the hotel.
I've
and
got a
she's
gun
like,
too.
"Two."
Yeah.
That would be great. It'd be a natural spot for him.
I also think the woman in Scrubs with the sick car doesn't have to be a woman. You know what I mean? Like it could have been
Mhm.
a man in that scene, and that man could have been Matthew Lillard. And
Who's
then
to
we
stop
could,
him from
the
being
He had
there?
camera
a sick
could just
car.
like linger on him a little longer as she demands that he take the scrubs off.
Oh my god, imagine he is Matthew Lillard and he's in the movie and he still has that tiny little fucking car. Imagine us getting a scene of Matthew Lillard in red scrubs in that tiny little red car.
I
Him
would've
like
loved that,
shyly
actually.
taking off the red scrub top, revealing a slutty tank top underneath.
Ooh, I love that for him. Okay, I love those placements. He's a natural fit. Dumb bitch. I mean, it's not who Pete says it is, so.
I think that there is a pitch where the demon Kyle Gallner's character himself at least deserves a nomination. Because again, it's that thing where he never questions his own safety, even when the stranger he's going to a motel with to have casual sex is like, sometimes strangers who want to fuck can be serial killers. And also, again, who knows exactly what his relationship is? Their groceries are on different shelves, but he is married.
Yeah. Dumb bitch to cheat, for sure. I can't give it to the lady because she's really smart at this. She's really good at it,
Yeah.
It's only blood loss that stops her, really. Um, so who else? Ed Begley Jr., perfect boy. He was just trying to be nice.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with him.
He's perfect. Genevieve, perfect. She's just on Squatch Watch.
I don't love Pete, even if his assumptions about the situation are correct. He just kind of has whack vibes, in my opinion. But I don't know. It's very hard to say like Kyle Gallner as somebody who has been targeted by a serial killer is the dumb bitch, but I don't know. That might be the way that I'm falling.
We don't have to give it to anyone if we feel uncomfortable. It's our podcast. There are no winners and there are no losers here. Everybody's fucked. Actually, everybody's a loser.
Yeah, I do
a dumb
think
bitch.
there is something to the narrative of like if girl cop is being called a dumb bitch for jumping to assumptions and the movie is purposely leading you to make those same assumptions, then it's just like the way that we come in thinking that we know everything about a situation before we have all the details is dumb bitchitude.
The moral of the story is take in the context clues.
Read the room.
Use your magnifying glass.
You can only work with the information that you have. And unfortunately, sometimes the reality is you're going to be a dumb bitch. And that's just the nature of the world. Maybe you're right to make assumptions. Maybe you're wrong. Sometimes you're going to be a dumb bitch because people make mistakes.
You just have to accept that about yourself. Okay, Spookies? It's all right. We're all dumb bitches here. And we're also all smart bitches. And now we're moving on to knives out of fives.
So this movie on IMDb has a 7.0 out of 10. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has 96% fresh from critics and 85% fresh from audiences, which is pretty good. And it also had a good amount of nominations at film festivals and stuff like that. At the 2025 Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Film Awards. It was nominated for Best Film Direction, Best Supporting Actress in a Film for Barbara Hershey, Best Actor in a Film for Kyle Gallner, Best Actress in a Film for Willa Fitzgerald, Best Film Editing for Christopher Robin Bell, Best Film Screenwriting for J.T. Mollner, and it did win Best Thriller Film. And it also it did some turns at the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards, and the Critics' Choice Super Awards. So it made its way around the festival circuit for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I could see this being a festival darling for sure. It's got all the markings for it.
And the fact that it is filmed all on film, and not just that it is all film, but that they go in the beginning, just so you know, this was filmed on film. It's like, okay, yeah, they love to be like, this is cinema. This is cinema, and we're in cinema.
It did feel a little bit like, you know, pretentious film bro for parts of the Q&A, but also, hey, you got to be pretentious sometimes. You got to believe in your art. You got to believe in what you're doing. All right. They believe it, and then I believe it because it was good. It turned out really nice. Okay, they did a good job.
One of the articles that I read was like, isn't it so self-indulgent in many ways that they're like patting themselves on the back for being shot on 35 millimeter film, as if nobody has ever done that before, when it happens more often than you think. But there was one quote from the Q&A where he just says, like, painters use paint and I use film, and that's just like, it's not valid to do one or the other, digital versus film, but this is the medium that I use for my art. So I don't think he's trying to be pretentious about it, but I think
that's just how he believes a film should be made
right
for him. Okay, who wants to go first on this one?
I can go. I'm gonna give this one a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah.
I liked it so much. I don't know about like rewatchability and all of that good jazz, and there was like one or two things that I was just like, this is dumb. Like her smoking in the middle of the woods when she's trying to hide.
But if you've ever need a cigarette, it's right then. Am I right?
I know, but like,
a little tired. You need to pick me up.
You're literally sending smoke signals. Girl.
Yeah, that was in my notes also.
That was done. That was done.
It's in my notes.
But like, this movie's beautifully shot. I know, like, I think it'll be a cult classic at some point. I think more people, especially because it's on like Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Or Showtime maybe, but within the Paramount umbrella. Yeah.
But like, I think it's so good. And
totally.
I love Kyle Gallner. I love him. Oh my God.
He's so hot.
He always dies.
King.
Scream King.
Just like
he's a Scream King for sure.
He always dies.
No.
Beanie.
Live, Kyle, please. Live. Yeah. I'll go next. I think I'm going to give this one maybe even a little higher than that. Maybe a 4.7. How about that? A 4.7. Because I had a fucking great time. I remember I was really moved by this last year. And I was very excited for it because I thought that the marketing was interesting. And I was like, they have the same morals as I do. They're saying, don't look into this. Don't even look. Don't look for a second longer. Just show up. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll do just that. And I think it's really great. I mean, I think, yeah, rewatchability is something to keep in mind, but sometimes it's just a singular experience. You're never going to experience the first time of any movie more than once. That's why it's called the first time. But like, this really packed a punch. And I got in my head watching it this second time because I had seen it before. I was like, is it really that good? Like, if they put it in order, it wouldn't be that good. And then I was like, That doesn't matter, Monica. That's not what the fucking movie is. Yeah,
If it was a different movie,
if
it would not be as good.
it would be a different movie. No, it doesn't matter. It was a creative presentation of a story that's a classic serial killer story, you know? And I think it's it just stops there. It really had that feeling of like you're saying how it should be a modern cult classic. It had a feeling like it already was a cult classic. Like I could see, because there's so little media or like technology involved in the movie at all. They talk about Instagram for a second, but if they hadn't talked about that, like this could have been, and if they had had a different truck for Kyle Gallner, this could have been the 60s movie that they were so inspired by. So it really felt out of time in that way, and classic in that way where it's timeless. Like it doesn't feel tied to today, which made me like it even more. So I thought the costuming was cool. I love that they went all in on the color theory shit and they're like primaries only. Yes, girl, get it. Everyone looks good in red, in my opinion, especially Kyle Gallner, especially Willa. So I had a wonderful time. And cryptozoologists, rise up. Squatch, watch, let's go. I really that was just felt like a little kiss for me. So I loved it.
Yeah, I think I wobble on this a little bit because again, I think it's not necessarily that hard when they're telling you that there's a twist and they're telling you to go in blind and they're telling you this is a movie about a serial killer and then they're going and this man is chasing this woman. I think it is easy to go, okay, so she's the serial killer, but I don't really know that there's another way to go about that, because if you don't tell people to go in blind, they're going to be like, wait, what's this about? And they might like receive too much information. So I think it's tricky. Again, I really like, and I think it's very smart the way that information is presented in this movie, but again, it I don't know if the rewatchability is necessarily there. For not that I didn't enjoy my rewatch, because I think it makes for a good rewatch when you're like really looking for ways to break down now that you have all of the information.
Yeah, I think it's good to be like, oh, let me look for the demon now throughout
Yeah.
this. Like you'd never really, I mean, you'd see it, but you wouldn't really understand what you're seeing until you had only in retrospect. So
Yeah,
it,
and it's like,
has
why was I
one good
tricked?
rewatchability, one extra time.
What can I see now that I know what I'm looking at? But it's not necessarily like, I mean, well, I was going to say it's not as fun in ways that I want it to be, but the whole mountain people section I just do think is very fun. The way that they're all of a sudden they're like, Squatch Watch is going on, by the way, and isn't this breakfast crazy? And did you see the painted portrait of Ed Begley Jr. and Barbara Hershey in their house? Wasn't that great? Look at all of their decor. Look at their beautiful house. I don't know. I think part of my struggle with it is that the dialogue between the two cops at the end is just so heavy-handed, and that's so near the end of the movie that it kind of weighs it down in comparison to how interesting and fun and engaging the dialogue and more natural the dialogue is early on. And again, sometimes it has to be a little heavier handed because you just only have so much space to convey what you're trying to convey. But being like, just because I have a vagina, your vagina has nothing to do with this. Like, I don't know if there was a more graceful way to do that, maybe. And that whole segment. But I think the Electric Lady is very smart. I think it's a really fun, interesting format. I do really love when that happens in storytelling, just to bring you into those other perspectives. Because I think that is just so common in life in general, is like you go in with your perspective. It's so hard to step outside of what you think you know, and then have to confront the fact that like there's so much that you're not aware of a lot of the time until you're clued in. Um, so I'm gonna give it not a low score, but slightly lower than both of you. I think I'm gonna give it like a 4.15.
Okay, that's
So
still a great
good.
score. Awesome. Well, I really enjoyed doing this movie. I'm so glad we finally did it because I think it deserves more watches, even though it's not a perfect film by any means. It's definitely a really cool, fun, well put together entry into horror, and it's giving you, I don't know, just something, a different perspective,
At
a
the very least,
different
it's a
format.
very incredible creative exercise.
Exactly. Definitely felt like you could feel the love that was put into making it on all ends, and it felt like art to me. So that was really cool.
This will be a movie that, like, if people haven't seen it or like they haven't known any about it, I will be like, you have to watch it though.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I totally agree. Definitely on the recommend list. And if you listen to this episode and you haven't watched the movie yet, I'm gonna punch you later lovingly. What the fuck? Just want to say that because don't do it, okay? Anyway, but don't worry, folks. Guess you didn't think that finger guns. You go.
Chelsea!
August, you might want us to continue this theme into August.
Exactly. That continues on next week with what movie?
Next up, next week, we are doing Oddity. It came out 2024, I believe. It might have done the festival circuit earlier than that. I just don't know.
It was released 2024 though.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know much about it, but I remember people were buzzing about it a little bit. So I'm excited to enter the conversation and figure out what the deal is there.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to rewatch it and see if I like it again a second time.
I'm excited to give it the attention that it deserves because it is like totally a Monica movie. It's also a Sydney movie in a lot of ways. Maybe not in tone, but in content. And I was multitasking when I watched it, and I was thinking the whole time, damn, this would hit if I was giving it my all. It would be so cool if I was really paying attention to this, but it was already 30 minutes in the movie at that point. So I'm really excited to sit down and really zone in on this one because the concept is very chilling. And yeah. And I also forgot what happened, so it'll be like it's the first time. I'm excited. But yeah, I'm having a great time looking at all these new releases. Aren't you? Aren't you having such a great time being, up to date with everything that's going on in the horror genre? Why don't you say in a 5-star review? Wow, thank you for staying on the nose, Spooky Tuesday. You really keep me relevant in the horror space. Just an idea, just spitballing here. And you can also give us a 5-star rating on Spotify. We'll take that and we'll love that and we'll cherish it in our hearts forever. And why not follow us on social media while we're at it? We're at spooky_Tuesday on pretty much everything, except for Facebook and Tumblr, where we're at Spooky Tuesday Pod. Head to our website, spookytuesdaypod.com, for one-stop shop for everything about us. And also, there's a link there for our Patreon. Our Discord has been popping off lately. We're getting into the weeds. We're getting into the nitty gritty. We're talking about smart shit. And we're also talking about really dumb shit. And our friends over there are watching our movies that we choose every week in a fun little movie watching group. And everyone is really cool. 5-star review on all of our patrons. So you could get in on that. And you should. And also, we are on YouTube, and today we are dressed rather gorgeously. I love an opportunity to wear a mustache. I always feel really hot in a mustache. Anyway, I'm Kyle Gallner today, the demon. Who are you, Chelsea?
I'm the lady. Specifically in chapter 6, which is titled Who's Gary Gilmore? Because I'm after, and we didn't even really talk about this moment, but I'm her after she bit out a chunk of Kyle Gallner's throat.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that at all. That fucking shit was crazy. I loved how you got to watch the blood splurt out of his nasty fucking gaping, like you can see the muscles open wound. and you just watch the blood slowly less and less and less and then stop.
How hard
I
do you think
love
she had
that.
to bite?
She
She
got
fucking
in there.
chomped, and then
Yeah.
she
She
spit
got-
that chunk out.
That was vicious. That was so good. Anyway, she's
It just
really
was
good
such
at
a good
killing
moment
people.
too, where she's like, and whenever you hear this song, you'll always think of me. And he's like, maybe, and she's like, not maybe, but then he's dead, so he's not going to hear
Then
the
he
song.
died. That's too bad. He never got to think of her again.
Love
Or-
hurts. Love
And
scars.
The
Love
lady's
wounds.
vial of ketamine.
Yeah, hold up your bag again. Did you put it away? Sydney is ketamine.
Honestly,
Sydney is
this
the little
bag
baggie of
upsets me
ketamine.
every time. I love it so much, but it
Can
upsets
you
me for
put
reasons
your
I will
head
not
through the
disclose.
armhole?
Oh my god!
He's dressed up as the bag of ketamine. Take
Wow,
a
it's
cosplay picture.
uncanny. Take a cosplay pic like that, thanks. That would be really helpful for me. Thank you. You're the vial. You're the vial. Actually, the ketamine was in a vial.
Oh,
You said
excuse me.
Well, that middle part right there, that's the vial where it says ketamine.
I see
Anyway.
the shape of it now.
You wouldn't understand any of that if you weren't on our YouTube channel. So you better head over there and subscribe and watch us do things and talk to each other. And you can see every text I sent in the reflection of my glasses. So that's a little Easter egg for you. Anyway, that's it. Thank you so much for listening. We love you. And we will see you next Tuesday.
Bye, Spookies.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Height, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Great18. That's GR818_. And our podcast art is by Ryan Brom, who you can follow on Instagram at Ryan Brom Art. That's RyanBrommArt. Learn more about Spooky Tuesday at spookytuesdaypod.com and subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/spooky_Tuesday.